Hi everyone. I hope you're someplace warm. We've now gotten word that Kansas City is going to be doing rotating power outages, and this made me think that I should go ahead and record tomorrow's class, so that if you or I are taken offline without our will, you'll still have a chance to watch this. Before we start, let me just mention we've got our exam on Thursday, and you should be able to prepare to type out your answers in a Word document to me and send them right back in after the class. Again, the exam will be in 3 parts. Listening, where you give me the 4 required pieces of information and the optional 5th, right, of the title of the piece, the opera it's from, the character or characters who sing, the composer, and if possible for extra credit, the singers. And so that's the first section, and then we have the composer section that you identify them as you've been doing in the quizzes, and the last is synopses. You give me both the opera and the composer. Remember to give me both pieces of information. So I think if you go back and study your quizzes and review your listening, you'll be just fine. So that's my hope for you. And let me get started and get this in before the snows come and take us apart even more. I hope you're able to watch the BBC Puccini section. I'm sorry, we're missing one part of it, but there's a lot of good information there, and that I think gives us a good foundation in who Puccini was. So I do want to talk about just information that will complement that, and with some of the recordings. So one of the operas that wasn't covered much there was Manon Lescaut, and this is before Bohème. It was 1892, not 1842. Sorry about that. And this was the young Puccini, who was almost profligate with his melodic skills. He had so many melodies in him that everybody sings multiple arias, and he doesn't need to go back and rehash the same melodic material. He was just fresh with it. So it's a young work and very exciting, because it's interesting opera history wise to know that this same novel was used by Massenet for his Manon, and to compare and contrast the two operas, they're very different, both romantic, but they tell different parts of the story, and they certainly use their own melodic languages, both these very distinctive composers. So, you should certainly listen to Manon and to know Manon Lescaut. So then we get on to La Bohème. Again, the first really masterwork there of Puccini. Maestro Papano talked about it a lot in the video, right? And then going to Tosca, the very dramatic Tosca. It's interesting how people always talk about what a great movie film composer Puccini would have been, anticipating that. It's so distinctive again and specific, and it's what it's trying to portray, that it would be perfect for the film movies. So after we've killed everybody in Tosca, we just kill one person in Madame Butterfly, and again the moving tragic story of the poor girl who takes the man who marries her to be true, and realizing he's not as profound and as profoundly interested in the relationship as she is, and she ends up paying for that. And then we have Turandot, and which sometimes the O is pronounced Turandot, sometimes Turandot. It's done both ways. And so we get the princess who takes revenge out of an ancestor of hers who was slain by men, and so is pretty harsh on the men interested in her. And we hear the prince who accepts her challenge, answers her riddles, even though his slave girl, who is devoted to him because he looked at her once, gives up her life so that she won't betray the secret that could kill him. So we have this very dramatic piece of Turandot, which of course Puccini died before being able to finish, right? And so at the very first performance, Toscanini stopped where Puccini died and saying, "Here the maestro laid down his pen." So the composer Alfano was commissioned by Ricordi to finish it. Beria also did a version of the final scene. What we hear normally in the theater is not everything that Alfano wrote, and that has been recorded just a couple of times, and I find it very interesting. I like the extra music. There's extra offstage fanfares. I wouldn't mind if that was what's normally performed, but it isn't. A shortened version of that is done. So we're also going to talk about, let me get to my other screen. We're going to talk about one of the operas of the three of Il Trittico, and to hear the end of Suor Angelica. One thing Puccini did as well or better than anybody is he knew how to close an act. And we're going to hear several act closing numbers here. But first, let me start. Originally, I had, normally for this class, I've played one of his first two operas that are not done very much, Le Villi and Edgar. But there's still beautiful soprano arias in both, and I often play that. I thought, well, let me play rather something that really is more done, which is Mimi's first aria from La Boheme, Si mi chiamano Mimi, and for you to hear a concert performance of Mirella Freni singing it with Herbert von Karajan. Of course, she died a year ago last week, so we miss her. I was able to see these two perform Bohème in Vienna and was unbelievable. And this is a pretty amazing recording of her in concert in a studio. So here's
I know right now the world needs
Si mi
fixing.
chiamano Mimi.
Sure, it may take a
La
lot of
Bohème,
thinking and
sung by
solving
Mimi.
and doing.
Maintenant, nous avons la grande joie d'accueillir Mirella Freni. Et vous avez choisi un extrait de la Bohème de Puccini.
So this is when she and Rodolfo have just met. He's introduced himself in his aria Che gelida menina and asked her, "Won't you tell me something about yourself?" And she hesitates, but does. First ray of sunlight in spring is hers. I always laugh at the end a little bit. It seems to me that maybe Puccini ran out of time before his commission was due, and like, okay, I gotta get these last 3 lines in. It's like, okay, I'm done, got it finished. So maybe I had a dinner date or something. So that's Si mi chiamano Mimi, sung by Mimi, from the end of Act 1 of Bohème. Okay, now we're going to go to the end of Act 1 of Tosca, and we're going to hear the evil villain, the Baron Scarpia, singing during the beginning as everyone is gathering for a church service to celebrate what they think is a military victory. And he hypocritically joins in, but before doing so says he's so smitten with Tosca and he thinks he's got her in a trap, and so he says, Tosca mi fai dimenticare Dio, Tosca, you make me forget God, and then turns around and joins in the Te Deum. And so this is where Puccini uses all these specific colors to join together. The canon, which is going to have to announce the captured prisoner or the escaped prisoner, and the organ playing for the mass, and the bells and choirs all gathering. It's this grand scene. We're going to hear it in a big version from Verona, the arena there, the Roman arena, and where of course the crowd is 20,000 people and the stage is just under that. So here's the Te Deum from the end of the first act of Ambrogio Maestri.
You've been hiding something. I sensed it the moment I met you.
He's a big guy, tall and stocky. Six, maybe. So the bells.
Tre sbirri, una carrozza, presto, seguila dovunque vada, non visto, provvedi.
Sta bene il convegno,
Palazzo Farnese. Va, Tosca,
Go, Tosca.
nel tuo cuore s'annida Scarpia.
Scarpia is hiding within your heart. The organ of the church.
Va, Tosca, e Scarpia che
The cannons.
diavolo il falco della tua gelosia. Quanta promessa nel tuo pronto sospetto. Nel tuo cuore s'annida Scarpia. Va, Tosca,
The chorus chanting.
doppia mira, vento il mare, nel capo del ribelle, è la più preziosa. Di quegli occhi vittoriosi, fedele la fiamma, il languidir, un spasimo d'amor, fra le mie braccia, il languidir d'amore, l'una capestra, l'altra fra le mie braccia.
Here's his line. Tosca, you make me forget God. These three chords. So those three chords open the opera, and they're sort of perfect for him because they take you a tritone away from the root chord. It starts on B flat major, and then a transitional chord, and the next one is in E major. Like, how did we get here? We were just half a second ago, and a tritone away, and that that uneasy harmonic feeling is perfect for a Scarpia. So that's the Te Deum from the end of Act 1 of Tosca. Okay, so let's see. We want to hear the end of Act 1 of Madame Butterfly. And see if we can hear the recording with Mirella Freni and Luciano Pavarotti. This is already halfway through the big love duet that ends the first act. And there's this violin solo, this tender music. Young Pavarotti. Butterfly, how well named you are. You say, yes, I'm called Butterfly, but in your country they take butterflies and they pin their wings to a board. So that's so that she won't leave and she'll be there forever. Come, my beloved. So this harmonic sequence is from her entrance at the beginning of the opera. These augmented chords. We're heading to a final high C for her, and an optional high C for him to join her. Go. So that's the end of Act 1 of Bohème.
You've been hiding something. I sensed it the moment I met you.
Okay, so in the video we watched, Papano talked about the third of the 3 one-act operas that comprise Il Trittico, the triptych there, in Gianni Schicchi. All 3 operas are about death, and Schicchi is a comedy about death. The other 2 are very serious. And so I want us to hear the end of the second movement. This is Suor Angelica, Sister Angelica, a story about a young woman whose wealthy family puts her in a convent because she has a child out of wedlock. And for 7 years, she's not had a visitor, and she's not heard about anything about her son. And finally, a visitor comes, the matriarch of the family, and what seems like it would be good news is in fact not. It's the matriarch wanting Angelica to sign over her share of her inheritance as punishment. And Angelica agrees to do so, and the matriarch just leaves as soon as that's done. And Angelica stops her and says, wait, what about my boy? Tell me about my baby. And the matriarch looks at her coldly and said, oh, he died, and leaves. So she is left alone and finally decides she's going to commit suicide. And she knows she works with flowers and things and knows how to cure people, but also knows about poison and decides to poison herself. And she drinks this poison and then realizes that as a Catholic, she's committed a mortal sin and suicide. And she prays to the Madonna to save her. And as she is dying, a light comes upon her, and she believes she sees her son as a little boy coming toward her. And the end of the opera is she dies, and depends on how it's staged. Either she just dies on stage, or the real actress playing the Madonna brings the little child in and sends him over to her, and he dies in her arms. But anyway, so this is the the last 7 minutes of the opera, and this is Renata Scotto, whom Papana was talking to about the Puccini roles. So here she is. Preparing the poison. This is a performance from the Met. And Scotto sang the lead in all three of the operas. They're each about an hour long. She bids her sisters farewell. You can hear the blood, the poison in her veins, sort of. And then she realizes. there's this angelic chorus of children's voices. Puccini has this odd glissando down for her. I can't tell you how bright that light was on her in the theater. This is adjusted for cameras, but it was blinding. So a quiet ending this time to that opera. Okay, so we're going to close with the end of the first act of Turandot. And this is, again, young Renato Scotto singing Liu, and Franco Corelli is singing Calaf, and they sing back-to-back arias. Then it ends with this big concertato as Corelli has rung the gong. So that means he needs to answer the riddles. Everyone's anticipating him being put to death. And so they sort of go mad. The crowd comes in, and so you get these two very different feelings. So this is Signore Ascolta is the soprano aria, and then Non piangere Liu, don't cry Liu. And then they end with the act. So the two brief arias, but beautiful back to back. gentle octave leads. And he answers back.
Non piangere più, che in un lontano giorno io t'ho sorriso, per quel sorriso dolce mia fanciulla m'ascolta. Il tuo Signore sarà domani, forse solo al mondo, non lo lasciare aperta la via con te. Sulla strada dell'esilio addolcisce a lui le strade. Questo mia povera Liu, al tuo piccolo cuore che non cade, io ecco lui,
Goes up to his B flat.
e non sorride più, e non sorride più.
The three ministers of death come in. His father, the king, is there, trying to convince him not to ring the gong. Don't do it. right, so the end of his first act of Turandot there. Okay, well, I'm sorry for catching you by surprise by doing this, but since I don't know if and when you or I will have power in the coming 36 hours, it's better, I thought, to get you the information so you can have it as soon as I can send it and you can receive it. Okay, please get in touch with me if there's anything I can answer about the first exam. If not, be ready to go at class time on Thursday. No quiz or anything today. Okay, so take care, stay warm, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Bye.